Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show, discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host. Happy draft day, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, the second best day of the year, aside from season kickoff, of course. The NFL draft is pure spectacle, a place where franchise ownership, team management, coaches, current players, and of course the fans come together to share in one night. Essentially, it's the coronation of collegiate superstars and teams jockeying for position to land the most impactful guys for their teams. And hey, the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars are feeling as good as they are should tell you everything you need to know about the NFL draft and what it represents. So, in anticipation of tonight, I decided that we need to take a step back. Let's look at each of Miami's picks and where they stand in the larger picture. Not just tonight regarding the draft, but for the Dolphins' overall future. And hey, let me reiterate, I know nothing more than you, your boyfriend, or Mel Kiper's postman, but hey, maybe talking it out can help us figure out exactly how we feel about these different outcomes, because hey, there seems to be a ton of different outcomes. Without further ado, let's dive in.
Oh, wait. We're hearing it now. The pick is in. Let's go to the commissioner and see what happens.
With the fifth pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama.
All right, let's just rewind for just a second. At the start of the 2021 offseason, the Dolphins had picks 18, which was, of course, their own, resulting from that 10-6 record, as well as pick number 3, the gift from Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans. Considering the Dolphins weren't in need of a quarterback, well, at least if you ask people who know what they're talking about regarding the Dolphins, most people figured that they would try and then flip the third pick on draft night for a haul, most likely, but most everyone was surprised when the Niners on March 29th took a bold chance a month ahead of the draft and loaded off a haul at the facility down in Davie. To go back to pick 12 from 3, so 9 spots down, Miami acquired the 49ers 2022 first, 2023 first, a 2022 third, as well as a 2022 first, this year's 12th, of course. And all things considered, it's a good move for Miami and probably was the extent of what they could get, especially when you take into account their plans, right? Everyone knew Miami was looking to move out, so the value of that trade probably would have gone down over time. So Miami maximized it and struck gold. And hey, minutes after the deal went through with the league, their true plans and intentions were revealed. Grier was at it again, and the Dolphins moved back up into the top 10 within minutes. Remember, we got the notification about the Niners trade. I remember I was like, holy crap, okay, let's assess 12. You're losing out on some. Wait, what? Bombshell. Dolphins traded up with the Philadelphia Eagles, who held the 6th position by their own volition, by having a bad season. And so the Dolphins sent them a 2022 first, which was the Dolphins' own 2022 first, and a 2021 fourth round pick, 123rd overall. Miami got back the 6th pick, which they now hold, as well as a 2021 fifth round pick, which is 156th overall. So what does that mean exactly? How does that relate to tonight? Why is Miami going back from 3 to 12 and now jumping back up to 6? What's that mean for what the Dolphins could do? So consider this. The Dolphins could very easily have stayed put at 12, right? And not given up significant capital. Because I don't care what you say, a future first is pricey. And that's what was given up along with an important mid-round pick this year to go up 6 spots. Rather, the Dolphins deemed that the cost was worth it, right? Going up was worth it. And who am I, honestly, to second guess that, really? So they moved up for one of 2 reasons. And that's what we need to talk about today. Either the Dolphins looked at their draft board and through their own evaluations, as well as their understanding of the league-wide landscape and sort of what other teams were thinking, what their intentions were, and through conversations with these teams and scouting, they felt that there was more value to be had by moving up. They felt, as likely as this will likely going to transpire, that one of those top quarterbacks is going to fall into their lap at 6, whether that be Justin Fields or Trey Lance, and then they can serve them up to the highest bidder. So in turn, they could turn that 3rd overall pick into so much more than when they went back from 12. They could go up to 6 and then make another move back. And because of, the situation and Miami reading the room right months ahead of time, they're able to get even more value than that initial trade. And hey, if they go back, they may not be able to get a, premier top 10 talent, but definitely a day one impact player at a position of need while also adding more value, right? So that's one possibility. The Dolphins could be pulling a Sonny Weaver Jr., gotta love those draft day references, and could be wheeling and dealing, right? Moving themselves across the board while making sure that they remain what they have been throughout this entire rebuild, flexible. Being, you don't want to get tethered to one position. You don't want to have just one plan. Just like how the Dolphins want to play in their games, you want to adapt and evolve based on what's best for your team in the moment. And that mindset has been clear throughout the offseason, right? They made 3 pretty big offseason signings last year. Shaq Lawson, Kyle Van Noy, Eric Flowers, traded. Bye, and good luck up in Washington, Eric. The front office has no qualms with moving on from decisions and adjusting their course for the better, right? If the course can be bettered by moving back from 6 and maximizing that position, so be it. And this has to be taken, a bit of a left, right? This situation where everyone's like, all right, the Dolphins could trade back and they seem to be that team that holds the most value. But that could also not be the case as well. The Broncos, earlier yesterday, traded pennies, 6th-round pick for Teddy Bridgewater from the Panthers. So does this mean that Denver is now out of the running to grab a quarterback at pick 9? Absolutely not. I mean, the Panthers just moved on from Teddy in favor of Sam Darnold, right? So don't count George Patton and the Colorado boys out from potentially surprising many and grabbing Justin Fields or Trey Lance, right? But the reason that move affects the Dolphins, why we're even talking about it on the show, is that now the Dolphins have lost some leverage in trade negotiations. The Broncos, who are a team that most likely was speaking to Miami to move up and get a quarterback, they're less likely to bend to Greer's wishes and the likely fleecing that would have ensued. And now that Denver is also less inclined to draft a quarterback of their own, it's going to have a domino effect, and that's going to now ensue. And instead of Miami holding all the power at pick 6, in fact, the Broncos become the key holders, and they can choose to either take the guy there at 9 or pull what Miami's trying to do and trade out from 9 for more assets and let another team take that quarterback. Because keep in mind, the Dolphins have now lost that leverage. In order for Miami to have leverage, they need those teams immediately behind them to want a quarterback, right? But if the Broncos don't anymore, now they're what Miami was trying to be. So with that in mind, what's the other alternative other from a potential trade-out situation? And it's probably the more likely, and it's simple. The Dolphins moved up to number 6 from 12 because they have a certain or select few players in mind. They've identified the guy who fits their culture, their scheme, and someone who can be impactful the moment they step onto the field at Hard Rock, right? And here are the players that the Dolphins could be selecting tonight with their first pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. Penei Sewell, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase, all names we're very familiar with and have heard mocked throughout the last few months. And yeah, I'm going to die on this hill. I'm going to throw Micah Parsons in there as well. And look, we're going to have some fun with this, assuming that each one of these players, with the guys we just named, are staring the Fins down the barrel, right? When Roger Goodell announces that they're on the clock probably come 9 p.m. tonight, then I'm going to assign some percentages for each of the aforementioned guys, right? So let me know what your odds are for each of the guys I placed on the list if you agree with these percentages. Pretty arbitrary. I'm just trying to sort of convey the likelihood of what I think, if all these guys are available, that the Dolphins would go in this specific direction. And look, if you think I'm neglecting someone who could also end the night in aqua and orange, please let me know. But from least likely to happen, in my personal opinion, of course, to most likely. So let's do this. Least likely, Jalen Waddle. And look, if all these guys are available, I'm going to give it a 10% chance that the Dolphins would pick to his former running mate at 6 overall. And some of you may disagree with me, but here's my rationale. The Dolphins gave up a future first to move up from 12. Firstly, there's a shot he would have been there at 12 too. And second, since when is a speed receiver worth 2 first-round picks? Is Ruggs looking that great right now for the Raiders? You think he's worth 2 first-round picks? I mean, you could argue Waddle is a better prospect, but Ruggs coming out of college had definitely higher pedigree. So he's not worth 2 first-round picks, not to mention a top 10 selection for a speed guy. Rarely does that work out, and I'm sorry, that's what Waddle primarily is, right? He's a great athlete, but there are a ton of those playing wide receiver across the league, and you can get a ton of great high ceiling prospects because of their elite athleticism later in the draft, right? Waddle has good hands, but not great, and his route tree's limited. He was often schemed open by Alabama's awesome coaching. So a lot of those stats have been inflated by short dump-off runs created by pick plays, little dump-off throws that now turn into 25, 30-yard, plays because he's a better athlete than people in college. But in the NFL, is that going to translate the same way? So can Waddle be an impactful player? Absolutely. I'm not saying that he's going to be a bust. He likely will be damn good. But I just don't think he's impactful enough for the Dolphins to have moved back in the top 10 for. If that's the case, and that was the guy they identified and gave up a future first for, honestly, I'm disappointed. And the other reason that you can lock it in my opinion, that he won't be a Dolphin, and the Dolphins agree with me here, is because guess who has been linked to Miami and who we've been hearing attached to their hip all week? Who is everyone now mocking the week of the draft? No one was mocking him a month ago when everyone sort of had to bet their head on their shoulders. And 2 months ago, was it Jalen Waddle at 6? No, it wasn't. Now, this week, it has been Jalen Waddle at 6. So Waddle himself is the favorite in the last couple days. And I remember when Andrew Thomas, tackle from Georgia, was the apple of Miami's eye the day of the draft last year. So, hey, read into that for what you will. Next is Penei Sewell. And look, I'm going to respect his talent, so I'm going to say it's a 15% chance that Miami takes him. Look, it's another guy who's been linked strongly to Miami in recent days, especially after the trade of Eric Flowers and the convenient report that came out stating that the team's now going to be kicking Robert Hunt into guard, which conveniently loudly now leaves a vacancy over there at right tackle. It's smoke, in my humble opinion. Doesn't mean the need doesn't exist. Miami still needs to address it. But by amplifying that need days before the draft, I think they're trying to say something. And I think it's a bunch of smoke. And listen, a generational tackle like Sewell is, I would agree, is potentially worth 2 firsts, right? But Miami just took Austin Jackson. Sign DJ Fluker. Look, develop your young guys. If you're going to invest first-round picks and tackles, make them good tackles. If you need to get Penei Sewell, then honestly, over the last couple of years, you're struggling to identify free agents, guys in the second, third round who can develop into starting level guys. You shouldn't have to draft your entire offensive line in the first round, right? So instead, they should be looking to get Tua help now. The pick that won't help Tua now, but would be amazing for this defense, is Micah Parsons. Yeah, I think this is more likely than Penei Sewell. Listen, I'm not going to be crazy. He's not way more likely. I'm going to put a 15% chance on this as well. Remember, Miami moved up for someone from 12 with a seemingly limitless ceiling. That's what you want to move up for and give up a future first, right? That's Micah Parsons. You need an athletic, big, and speedy spy linebacker to keep an eye on pesky Josh Allen, less pesky Cam Newton, and the soon-to-be probably pretty pesky Zach Wilson. Well, look, if you need that guy, that athlete, it's Micah Parsons. If you need a guy to eliminate their running ability while he sits there and spies them and also takes away the flat and is able to, show his athleticism and move side to side and wreak havoc for those offenses that have been really impacting the Dolphins, as we saw last year in Week 17. But look, Miami's defense not only relies on great secondary play, but it also needs smart linebackers who execute the defense at a high level and can get to where they need to be fast. Think Donta Hightower, Jamie Collins. That's how the Patriots operated, and it's what helped Flores, the former linebacker coach up there, lead a Super Bowl winning defense. He knows the importance of that position. And Jerome Baker's good, don't get me wrong, but he's no Micah Parsons. He isn't. Parsons is a hard hitter, solid in coverage, and a Swiss Army knife. You can blitz him from anywhere, and he would slide into this defense on day one and give us some much-needed edge and tenacity. All right, let's get into the more likely guys here at pick 6. Devonta Smith, and if he's there, and realistically Pitts and Chase will be gone, I think there's a 70% chance that the Dolphins make him their pick. Why? Because just as a player, a pure prospect, ignoring the build and how his skinny-ass legs look on film, but just as a guy balling out there on the field, he's worth 2 first-rounders. Not only did he have a historic collegiate season backing that up, culminating in a Heisman Trophy, he has already great chemistry with your current young quarterback in Tua, and his ceiling is very high. Speaking of Smith here, remember, Hall of Famer Marvin Harrison, you remember that guy? His connection with Hall of Famer Peyton Manning? Yeah, let's bring a little Slim Reaper magic to Miami too. Next, Jamar Chase. And as much as I do love Devonta Smith, I don't see how you can ignore the potential of the LSU standout. This is a top heavy wide receiver class. It's a good wide receiver class throughout, and I would love to see Miami double dip on Friday as well. But just talking here at the top, Jamar Chase. Holy crap. I would say there's an 80% chance if he's on the board that the Dolphins will take him. Again, arbitrary, but everything being equal. Jamar Chase is explosive. He can run every single route on the route tree. He has magnetic hands, becomes a powerful runner after the catch, and essentially everything Miami's been missing is what Jamar Chase is. His fluidity makes him breaking in and out in routes, quick slants, quick out routes in the red zone. He, as much as people think he can't get separation, it's more about he knows where to be. He knows where he needs to be on a route to make the play, and he makes the play. And that's all you want to ask for. I don't need guys who separate. I need guys who catch the ball and score touchdowns, and that's what Jamar Chase is. He's going to fit in nicely, right? If we get him with Wolf Fuller and Devontae Parker, he's going to complement the offense so well, and I think he can get a connection going with Tua in no time. And then lastly, the highest rated player, no doubt, Kyle Pitts, 100% chance if he's there. Run the card in and give a sacrifice to the football gods in thank you. It's a blessing if he's there. I'm not kidding. And I've gone on and on about this before. So feel free to check out previous episodes if you want to get your fill of Dolphins coverage leading up to tonight. There's plenty of Kyle Pitts ball washing going on, but he's a game changer. Your offense just looks different with him in it. That's the fact. And frankly, how it looks with him is terrifying for opposing defenses. Combined with Gesicki, sheesh, I'm buying a jersey day one, and tomorrow's episode, if this is how the draft falls, it's going to be lit. It's not happening, though. That's what I'm going to keep telling myself to ease the pain when he gets taken by Atlanta. Just two spots. Oh, it's going to hurt my heart. Let's move on to the 18th pick. We'll now drop the percentages because, that was very arbitrary. And instead, let's just talk about potential fits here at 18, because the pick here is completely going to be dictated by who the Dolphins take at 6, as well as a ton of other factors, like who trades up for a quarterback, if people trade in and out. So it's going to be a lot harder to really narrow down and guess what's going on at 18 versus what the Dolphins do at 6. So based on the general positions of need, right, that's how we're going to sort of format guys who might fit at 18, right? So the offensive line, receiving core, edge, and linebacker. So who are guys that the Dolphins could target? And a few names that could be realistic options for us at pick 18. And look, we're going to do this from guys who are most likely, in my opinion, to be fits, to guys who I think have lesser chances, but still are names that, wouldn't be surprising if are taken. So the names who, in my opinion, fit very well: Rashad Bateman, if a receiver wasn't had earlier. I think, again, Rashad Bateman, like I've said, reminds me a bit of Michael Thomas in terms of how smooth he is as a route runner, and how he seems to just bring everything down that you throw in his direction. So he's definitely someone who I think, if comes to Miami, could rack up the receptions early on in his career. Another guy, Elijah Vera Tucker. He's a versatile interior lineman, exactly what Miami needs. He could fill, the center position. He has, flexibility there. I don't think he can really play tackle, although he played that in college. So he wouldn't be able to fit that need. And so for that, a guy like Christian Darrisaw potentially is an option at 18. I really like Darrisaw. He's extremely powerful up top, but he's fluid. He's a fluid athlete. If you watch him, he kind of reminds you of a Jason Peters type. Sort of how powerful he is, and most of his blocking strength comes from that base and upper body, while his legs are skinny enough to be pulling for a man his size too. Christian Darrisaw is impressive. Although he's limited in terms of versatility, he can't really kick into guard. I don't think he would be a great guard at the next level, but I definitely think he can be a really good tackle for you. In terms of defense, Jalen Phillips. I'm a big fan. If Jalen Phillips is at 18, concussion history be damned. If this man can stay healthy, you get yourself a potential game wrecker. He's someone who can really bend and is strong and sets the edge. He had really, really good tape, arguably the best of all defensive players in this year's draft. He honestly has a ceiling kind of like J.J. Watt in terms of if he can build, he's got a motor. He clearly loves the game. I know that was questioned when he had to retire, but, having to fight through these injuries, transfer, and sort of reacclimate yourself to, high-level football after having to take time off and then dominate, that's exciting. And that's what I think Jalen Phillips offers. At a less level, I think a guy like Azeez Ojulari also makes sense because of Miami's need at edge. And again, all those guys would become starters, I think, at positions of need right away. So it's something you're looking to get from a guy that's taken here. Some other names to keep in mind: Zaven Collins, linebacker. If Miami can't nab Micah Parsons earlier if they couldn't trade up for Micah Parsons. Zaven Collins is a great athlete and can kind of fill in that role similarly. He's not as violent and as hard of a hitter, but he is just as good of an athlete. Tevin Jenkins, you're going to notice a lot of offensive line at this point in time. I think Miami should focus on skill early and then take a lineman, either later in the first or in the second. So Tevin Jenkins, a mean, aggressive tackle, would be a great fit at 18, and he would be a day one starter at the right tackle spot. You get Robert Hunt and Tevin Jenkins on the right side, run behind it all day. This might be a little high for some people, but Landon Dickerson, I just think he fills such a need for Miami, and he, when healthy, he's one of the best linemen, period, in the draft. And he played at the highest level. And so I think it would be a great fit. Pair him up with Tua, reunite them, and really get this offensive line humming up the middle. And then Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he again is a really good coverage linebacker, a little redundant with Jerome Baker, but he's got a way higher ceiling and is potentially a little bit better in the run game than Jerome Baker. He doesn't get as washed down by pulling guards and bigger linemen, sort of how Jerome Baker gets lost at times, which is why linebacker is a position of need. He's great, good player to have, versatile, but you want him to, be in sort of an array of a linebacking core, not sort of your featured guy, which currently Jerome Baker is. And a personal hope at pick 18, very unlikely, Trevon Moehrig, safety from TCU. Oh my God. Trevon Moehrig would be your Eric Rowe replacement. He's got that same physicality, same size, can match up with the same types of guys Eric Rowe can, and he's just as good as a cover guy. Frankly, when Eric Rowe came into the league, he had his struggles, at times still will. He's really locked it down as he's really settled in the NFL, but Trevon Moehrig was asked to do that specifically as a safety at TCU, so I think it would be an absolutely great pick. Another name here, a name that I know a lot of you want to be called at 18, Najee Harris. And he has an outside shot, in my opinion. Yeah, look, I'm not saying he's not awesome. Najee Harris is awesome. He's dynamic, right? He's powerful. He's great in the passing game. He led college football with passing touchdowns. And he can help Miami's rushing attack right away. Absolutely. I'm not saying anything otherwise. But the value has not been proven out in the modern NFL to take a top 20 running back. They can be had later. You can sign them in free agency. And frankly, you need multiple running backs anyway to really get a season going. Rarely do teams win with one featured back anymore. It just doesn't happen. And more importantly, nothing in Chris Greer's half-decade of draft history, where he's kind of controlled and had a say in the draft, would suggest that he likes taking backs this high. The highest back he took was Kenyon Drake his first year in 2016 in round 3, right? So it could happen. Miami could take Najee, and oh boy, if they do, tomorrow's going to be interesting if we do take him, like I said. If they do trade back and get him at a better value, I'm not opposed to that at all. Another option to consider is that the Dolphins trade out of the pick here at 18. I could see them jumping up maybe to take someone high on their board who seems to be falling, right? Considering, unlike most previous years, the Pats are ahead of Miami in the draft order. Maybe the Dolphins make the Vikings partners and jump the Patriots for a Jalen Phillips, like mentioned before, or maybe even a sliding Micah Parsons. Because again, the guys that the Patriots like, the Dolphins probably like too. And I think that's not too likely moving up. Again, I think Miami's going to try to get that big guy at 6, the really stud dude, and sort of let whoever falls at 18 fall, and they'll be happy with it because there's going to be good value available. The more likely outcome, though, if a trade were to occur, is that Miami would, like last season when they had multiple picks, trade down. And look, a team may strongly like a guy who they think is the last top prospect remaining at the position. If you feel like, let's say Azeez Ojulari's there, right, at 18, and another team like the Ravens feel like there is a significant gap between him and Joe Tryon, the next guy on their board. I personally don't believe that, but I'm just being hypothetical. It could be with any position group. If a team feels like whoever's left is the last one, and then there's a significant delta between them and the next sort of crop of guys at the position, and that's a big position of need, then you might want to move up and secure that guy. So perhaps, for example, the Jaguars, right? They really want Rashad Bateman to pair up with Trevor Lawrence on the outside, or the Ravens, like I mentioned, want to snag a falling pass rusher. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly, not upset me either, if the Dolphins back down in the draft, trade back down, acquire more capital, and then, nab a pass rusher, a Joe Tryon later on, a running back later. If Najee Harris is available, you can get him at better positional value, or an offensive lineman. There will be plenty of starting caliber guys later in the 20s for Miami to take if they do move back. So how excited are you guys about tonight? Nervous? Anxious? Let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Who do you want the Dolphins to take at both 6 and 18? And who do you believe they're going to end up taking? Regardless, in only a few hours, and if you're listening to this after, making fun of my clear misses, the Dolphins will have maybe 2 brand spanking new toys to play with, and we get to spend weeks discussing those fits, analyzing the value of the pick, seeing what jersey numbers they pick, and who else could have been had if instead the Dolphins didn't decide to draft those guys. We're going to be second guessing everything, and we're going to have so much more content over the next few days covering the draft, so be sure to subscribe, don't go anywhere, as well as in the months ahead. We're talking Dolphins for a long time, and tomorrow is really only the start of sort of the offseason and projections of where this team can be. It's an exciting time for the NFL, no doubt, but I think us Dolphins fans have reason to be a little more optimistic than everyone else. A great young coach, an extremely promising young quarterback, and smart decision-making up top from Greer. And plus, there's a young, talented roster ready to give it their all. They really are for Brian Flores and the Aqua and Orange. Have a blast, everyone, tonight. Make sure to be safe. And, of course, whatever you choose to do, have a hell of a time doing it. Fins up.
We get to number 6. Dolphins sigh of relief that Jamar Chase has made it to them. I think they positioned themselves hoping for either Pitts or Chase. They end up getting Chase here from LSU to give Tua a big-time number 1 wide receiver. And Miami, with that first pick, they look at the offensive side of the ball. I think they come back with defense. Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I think he's going to be a better pro than he was in college. They moved him around too much at Michigan. I think they're going to park him on the edge with Coach Flores and cut him loose.
That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. Hope you enjoyed it and enjoy tonight. As always, thank you to Timothy Ritchie, member of the pod and supporter of the show on Patreon. If you want more of the show, check that out over there. The link's in the description, or head to patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you all so much for the continued support. Please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show and subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Get ready. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming out this weekend. And remember that the PhinsPod's available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, and of course YouTube. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram at PhinsPod. And hey, I hope you all have an amazing day. Until next time, stay safe, love y'all, and happy drafting.